Hey everyone, it's Kelly here, and I have done a recording, or excuse me, I did a call this morning. I got distracted. I couldn't get my window clear. I did a group call this morning, and it was such a great call, and I'm so bummed out that it didn't record. However, I actually spent the last hour or so infusing this presentation deck with more information and utilizing those conversations I had with the group of women that made it this morning to even create a more powerful slide deck for you here. So nonetheless, it is March 8th. I know we're 8 days into the month and 8 days into our no sugar challenge. There's 31 days in March, and I want the big takeaway for you to hear and really feel to not strive for perfection, but really try to strive for progress with your health goals. Allow these 31 days of no sugar, reviewing kind of what's in your food, reviewing your diet, reviewing your food choices, be an opportunity to analyze your habits and identify triggers that might be sparking those cravings. So I'm going to get into more of these details here. I actually have utilized, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Technology is so advanced these days, but I have utilized and turned on an artificial intelligence feature in the Zoom, and hopefully it's going to prompt me questions and I hope it works. So if you see me getting a little confused and wondering who on earth I'm exactly talking to, it's AI. So let's indulge in these 31 days or kind of the conversation of opting to be sugar-free. So you all got this nice tracker. I know within Biocanics, there's a reminder going out to you whether or not you track if you have no sugar, if you have sugar, and also if you have artificial sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit. I added that layer on because I think it's important to identify how much, stevia or those healthier non-caloric sweeteners are in your diet, because we really want to reset our palate to crave whole real foods and holistic foods as naturally as possible. So, anywho, award yourself every day you do 100% no sugar with this tracker, pen and paper. That's very rewarding to the brain and very important for adults to create that behavior change. And then you can also track in Biocanics, which I'm actually looking to see who is, just to kind of check you out along as well. So the benefits of excluding sugar in your diet is many. And I don't want you to think about, okay, for March only, I'm going to have no sugar and then like have Fat Tuesday, April 1st. The goal again is to identify how much sugar you're eating, where sugar exists in your diets, but more so where are those habits, those triggers, those routines coming in. I know particularly religiously for months, I had huge chocolate every day after dinner. And it wasn't until I went on a trip, I really do like travel to break habits, good and bad, to break that habit of having chocolate after dinner. And I broke it. First week is always hard. Today is the 8th. Maybe you're listening to this tonight or maybe this weekend. And we're 1 week in and maybe started a little late, who knows? This first week should feel the hardest and it should feel a lot simpler as you proceed. But no doubt, don't put so much pressure on yourself where the desire for the sugar gets louder, but use this as a learning opportunity. Give yourself grace, relax, and I'll give you some tools and tips here headed in. But number one, reducing sugar can support your weight. Reducing sugar can support your liver, and our liver is our fat burning organ. Also, avoiding sugar can support your oral health, your dental caries. I tell my kids, brush your teeth and get rid of those sugar bugs. Also, reducing sugar can support your heart health. So when I look at someone's heart health, like, right away we might be thinking labs like cholesterol or triglycerides and so forth. And usually when I see those numbers high, I'm not really squashing, particularly someone to get all the red meat out of their diet. I'm more so trying to understand why their insulin levels might be high. So there's a relationship on triglycerides and heart health on, excuse me, high insulin levels, more so than that red meat. Of course, there's healthier red meat than others, not to go off on a tangent there, but grass-fed beef is a lot different than conventional beef. Go for that grass-fed beef to get that healthy fat soluble vitamins and a completely different ratio of fatty acids. Avoiding sugar can help with your energy levels. So when our blood sugar goes up, diabetic or not, insulin will help bring it back down. But when we have more insulin squirted or injected, got my shots right here, other hormones go along with it. Hormones don't move in isolation. So the steadier our blood sugars, the steadier our insulin, the steadier our mood. Point number 7. as well. So better skin. I had a client recently who did my 2-day cleanse, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter-in-law thought I got Botox." Because my skin was just glowing and it looked so well. Yes, infusing ourselves with healthy nutrients and lots of water can make our skin look robust and healthy, but also pulling that sugar out. Sugar, a high sugar diet can cause more wrinkles and so forth. So another little perk there. And then last but not least, and many more beyond these seven, is it prevents chronic disease. Sugar is an abrupt message in the body, and food is information to our body. Food is telling our body a story. So the more whole real food we eat, the better off we are. So overall, be inspired. So this inspiration of using March as the 31 days of no sugar came from an 8-year-old. And it was my daughter's friend, and he was turning down candy at the Valentine's Day party. And I thought that was just really cool. And if he was able to do that, why can't I expect my kids or myself to take on a challenge in a similar way? But I want to take this beyond just like the 31-day check marks, and again, analyze our lifestyle, our thoughts, our emotional well-being, and habits, to overall help our health long term. So there's three key pillars I want you to think about as you go into one day at a time, maybe one meal at a time, one craving at a time over these 31 days. And that is to peel this goal like an onion. It's small incremental changes that can make a difference. Number two, I want to give you some advice for cravings. And then number three, just giving you some research. When we know better, we do better often. So let's get in here. So the power of 1%, I'm really pulling a story here from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you haven't read that book, it's a great book. And if you've read it, maybe read it again. But in this book of Atomic Habits, he talked about a cyclist team in the UK, and this team was just utterly horrible. They hadn't won a race in over 100 years, and they were so bad that companies were afraid that if they wore their gear and their logo was shown with that team, that it would hurt their sales. That's how bad they were. However, a new coach came in, and he's like, "I'm not going to just train people harder, but I'm going to zoom back and I'm going to look in to see how I can help this team 1% better everywhere, from better sleeping pillows, better massage gels, better uniforms, cleaning the semi truck that carries the bicycles from race to race better, to not get any dust or dirt into the equipment, to optimize performance." So I want you to go into this 31 days. I guess we have less than that now that we're on March 8th, with a similar mindset. Like, where can you make 1% better decisions of eating less sugar, or wanting less sugar, or planning your meals a little bit better, or setting yourself up a little bit more? Maybe that's just getting more organized in your kitchen. Maybe it's organizing the refrigerator. Maybe it's filtering out food and getting containers, or having those healthy real foods easy to access, just 1% more. And before you know it, all those 1% are going to be peeled like an onion, and you're going to have a huge transformation of better habits and better health. So be very graceful with yourself. Maybe write down, take 3 minutes and just journal, like, where can you put more effort in a number of things? Maybe that's with your sleep. Sleep is number one, especially when it comes to sugar cravings. When we are sleep deprived, or our sleep's interrupted, or we go to bed too late, or wake up way too early for that morning workout, our body is primed to eat about 300 to 500 extra calories. And when we're sleep deprived, we want to reach that easy glucose food for our brain to get energy. So if you are sleep deprived, it happens, especially if we have children, especially if we're in these hormonal fluctuating years. Do, take a moment and realize your sleep wasn't great. Push hydration and water a little more that day. Push more protein that day to help with those cravings, and just give yourself more grace, so you're not trying to push the pedal to the metal as hard when you're just a little more depleted. Overall, health is just really giving yourself a lot of self-love and being really graceful. Hence my framework that I use with private clients, of my grace framework. But I'll bring that tangent in right back here. So as you go into your 31-day challenge, no, it doesn't mean deprivation. You can use whole real foods in a very delicious way. Here I have a banana pancake. I'm giving you guys the link to this presentation. You can click on these images and get the recipes. but I love pancakes. Pancakes feel really indulgent, and the pancake right here is a vegetarian protein powder plus 2 eggs. I mix that up, and the batter gets a little thick, so I'll add water little by little until I get that nice consistency to throw the whole thing in a skillet, make a pancake, and then enjoy that breakfast with some natural grass-fed butter. This breakfast here is one of my go-to as recent, and it is so beautiful on blood sugar control because it's low in carbohydrates, it's high in protein, and it has fiber. And yes, bananas do have glucose in there, but when you're bundled with whole real food, it can behave in the body a little bit better. Over to the right here, I have chocolate pudding made out of avocados. So go ahead, click on that link, try it out, and really enjoy Mother Nature. For this month, I have strived to set myself up for success, and I bought myself those really good Medjool dates. They're just really good and they're really sweet. And my favorite dessert is taking one of those dates and putting a little bit of nut butter in the middle. And it's kind of like a whole food peanut butter and jelly explosion in your mouth. And I love peanut butter and jelly. So that's my good relation there. When I had my group call this morning, women were asking for recipes and so forth. I just want to let you know that in Biocanic, let's see if I can get over here. Let's see here. I'm not sure if that's working. In Biocanics, I'm gonna go. There is client resources and there's all kinds of resources, and I've organized this since this morning. But I do have a section here on ebook and recipes, and I put all of my meal plans, my ebooks that I sold last year here for you for free. So take advantage of that, and hopefully you can see all this. I'm not exactly sure how well my screen sharing beyond my presentation. So I'm going to get back to our presentation and enjoy whole real food in a fun way. So let's talk about how to combat cravings. You can combat cravings both with food and supplements. So with food, number one of the best healthy things you can do for yourself is to anchor your meals around the same time of day. This will help your digestion, your blood sugar control, your nutrient extraction, and also cravings. So when we anchor our meals, we kind of have a better idea as well, naturally, of what portions we need. So there's that factor. Also with your anchors, I want you to base protein in each of those buckets or each of those meal times. And for women, most of my community, most of you are women, we need at least 30 grams of protein. Now that protein, that planning takes effort and some thought. And in the email summary that I have for this recording, I have a cheat sheet. Also, that's found in Biocanics in that free resource library as well. But I have a protein cheat sheet so you can just quickly know, excuse me, how much protein you need in a meal and what that can look like. On my grocery list, of course, I always buy like the pasture raised eggs. I'll buy the organic poultry. I'll buy my Chomps jerky sticks, my canned wild salmon, my marinated salmon, all of these protein sources. But I always on my grocery list have pre-made protein. And that might be the chicken skewers from Costco. It might be some healthy deli meat. I love Applegate oven roasted turkey deli meat. It is with clean ingredients. So yes, deli meat has higher sodium, but it really comes down to what are the ingredients? Are there chemicals or are those preservatives in that deli meat? Things like celery salt, very different. Celery salt to chemicals go very different on how they tax our body and our liver particularly. So the power of protein in your anchored meals can do a lot. It'll help with satiety, your metabolism, your muscle mass, your blood sugar regulation. And the better our blood sugar is regulated, the better our cravings can be. So lots of power there. Make sure you're really eating a colorful diet. If we're deficient in nutrients, our brain's going to crave certain foods for that. So make sure you're really seeking color. Maybe you're eating the same breakfast and lunches throughout the week, but the following week when you grocery shop, try to change up what you're buying and try to get, a little, I was going to say risky, but try new things like jicama wraps or, just diversify the type of potatoes you're buying. Maybe it's the purple Japanese potatoes or the russet potatoes or the fingerlings. Like just really diversify your produce. And diversify your spices. Spices make all the difference as well. I had a funny experiment. I was explaining to the group this morning. So, I'm a big shopper of Aldi, Trader Joe's, Thrive Market, and Costco. And I was at Costco, and they had this new product. They weave in products every now and then for brands, basically to get their names out there. And there's a brand called Partake. Partake is known to be a gluten-free brand, and I actually buy their gluten-free cookies for my kids. And they had a pancake mix, and this pancake mix was really good. It had like maybe all of 5 ingredients. The first ingredient was oat bran. The second ingredient, I think, might have been rice or buckwheat. I know buckwheat was in the top three. And I haven't eaten buckwheat in probably the better part of 5 years. So 5 years ago, I did my MRT, my food sensitivity test. That's a test that will look at 180 different foods and chemicals and see what the body's sensitive to. And we're all really unique. And the results of that is very unique to each person. But on my results 5 years ago, buckwheat was one of the worst foods. So I've kind of steered away from it. And I don't think we should steer away from foods we're sensitive to for 5 years, but buckwheat's just not a prominent food in my diet. So I didn't go out of my way to seek it out. Here nor there. So I got this brand of waffle mix from Costco last week in the kickoff of our no sugar challenge. And right away, I ate my homemade waffle. It was delicious. I put some grass-fed butter on there, and my cravings were all over the place. One thing with food sensitivities and cravings, when we eat something our body's really sensitive to, there's fireworks of opioids and change within our gut that is driving cravings. And it really transpired for me this week while doing this challenge with all of you. And it's just an example. I do see this a lot with my clients who do a wheat zoomer finger prick blood test. That wheat zoomer looks at how people are sensitive to gluten, how they're sensitive to wheat, their susceptibility to celiac, and also tells me how damaged the gut lining is. And on that test, there's a marker of proteonorphin. So if someone's really positive for proteonorphin, I know that that person's very addicted to gluten and wheat, and their brain's always thinking about that cookie at 3 p.m., this, there, and that. So I know when someone's positive for that, they're going to have a harder time at first getting over that food sensitivity, avoiding it in their diet because their brain's going to want it so bad. So there's a connection with food sensitivities and cravings, and kind of evaluate what foods maybe transpire cravings for you, and how can you, one, really identify if it is a food sensitivity, and two, set yourself up for success in how you eat it or not eat it. Let's see here. I'm not sure what number this is. Macros throughout the day. There is success in evaluating your protein, carbohydrates, and fat composition in your meals throughout the day. Particularly, I'm going to give you an example of a client. So I had a client, and sugar cravings was her middle name, and she had the hardest times with cravings out of the gate with her first meal. And what we identified is if she had anything sweeter later in the afternoon versus fruit at breakfast, for example, she set herself up way more for success of managing cravings. So just notice if you have anything sweet, even if it's from whole real food like fruit, if you position that later in the day, will that serve you better? Simultaneously, the more controlled our blood sugar is from our first meal, the better off we are with cravings later on. And a lot of research comes down to the power of protein at breakfast, particularly. So evaluate, do you do better with appetite regulation if your first meal of the day is high in protein and fiber, but lower in total carbohydrate? So that would be, for example, a combination of like vegetables. I'm thinking avocado, turkey, bacon, and eggs. That's pretty low carb. Avocado does have good fiber, also healthy fats. And then, of course, you have a lot of protein from those other foods. Or when you have a smoothie, can you alter how much fruit you put in there? And does that dictate your cravings or your satiety later on? So tinker with that. Play with your first meal to see how it sets you up for cravings later on. Fasting is a really good tool. The most healthy form of fasting is reverse fasting. And in a nutshell, I don't want to get into the minutia of fasting. In a nutshell, that's closing the kitchen after dinner. Hopefully your dinner's not too late, but it's just closing your eating after dinner and fasting until the next day. I don't think fasting throughout the morning is better than eating at an appropriate time for you. We're all different. But fasting does teach us the difference between emotional hunger and physical. Emotional hunger is craving something specific. Physical hunger is you'll eat anything like the salmon and hard-boiled eggs in front of you just because you're hungry. It's not you're very specifically wanting that homemade waffle, even though it's made out of whole real food. So fasting is a really good tool to help with cravings. Meal order. This comes back to blood sugar regulation. It goes a long way when we eat our protein first, followed by our produce like fruits and vegetables, followed by that higher carbohydrate food. Let that be fruit, rice, or even a treat. Can make a difference on blood sugar regulation in our post-meal blood sugar. Research shows when you eat your protein first, research also shows when you have vegetables first, but I have found in my diabetic life, the protein first makes even a bigger difference. You can have better blood sugar management after the meal. So your digestion's going as you're continuing to eat all your fruits, excuse me, your carbohydrates or fiber, your protein and your fat, that the insulin can marry up and cover it well, so your blood sugars stay pretty steady. So much power in fiber. You know, if I were to say build your plate, put a lot of emphasis on building your plate with protein and fiber from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, especially those chia seeds, the flax seeds. And also things like legumes and lentils. So really focus on building your plate with fiber, but also protein, to set yourself up for cravings, blood sugar regulation, and overall long-term health. Next up on here, I have Domino's. So I know my Domino's food, and I talk to my clients a lot about Domino's. And an example I will give is unique to me. It doesn't mean it's what your Domino is. But if I have peanut butter, I will notice I'll just have these ongoing, lingering cravings. Is there a food sensitivity there? Maybe. But I also have a lot of nostalgia for peanut butter. I grew up, and every morning my dad would make us Eggo waffles, and we'd slap peanut butter on it, and we'd go to school. So there's a little bit of a memory nostalgia there. But if I have peanut butter today, I know it kind of just makes me crave until the day's end. So I don't tend to eat peanut butter, or I ration it to have it in something like a peanut butter chocolate protein bar or whatever that may be, versus like toast and peanut butter or rice cake and peanut butter, because that will just make me spiral, and that'll be a domino for ongoing cravings and then set me off track from wanting those healthier choices. So be aware of your dominoes. How can you pre-portion them? How can you maybe get them out of the house, enjoy them on occasions, and so forth? The better you know yourself, the better you can move forward with better health. And I'm here to help with that. When we're tired, I talked about sleep. Temptations are just, there's no willpower. You know, we only have so much willpower, and we don't want to, rely on willpower. We just always want to set ourselves up for success. Last bullet on here, I'm explaining this slide at length. A lot of clients will have a ton of cravings at night, and I see that every time I see under eating during the day. So evaluate if you're getting enough of your energy during the day so you can have appropriate portions at night, but also sleep better. So there's a lot of chicken in the egg if you eat most of your calories at night, because then you're going to hurt your sleep, and then you're going to build insulin resistance, and then your blood sugars are going to move this, and this. So proportion your food throughout the day. Have 3 servings or 3 meals with a base of protein. You don't want all your protein at dinner only. And make sure you're fueling appropriately. Make sure you're finding the time to eat, and that's hard, but make it a priority. We all have 24 hours in the day, and we all need to advocate our needs, whatever those needs may be. And that might be, hey, I need 10 minutes to eat my quick lunch. And hopefully you can fit that in. So let's talk about supplements. Supplements are super handy when it comes to cravings. Cravings aren't natural. We should they can be natural. The more sugar we eat, the more we're going to crave. The more processed foods we eat, the more processed foods we're going to crave. The more whole foods we eat, the more whole natural foods we're going to crave. So try to turn things around where you can. But vitamins can be very helpful. So if we multitask a lot, if we're not getting that beautiful sleep every evening, I'm not sure who is. And if we're not stressed, we need stress in life. Life would be boring without it, right? We burn through B vitamins pretty quickly. B vitamins give us energy, and research will show B vitamins, a B complex, is a really good supplement to take for energy levels, but also cravings. Iron is really important for sugar cravings here too, and iron is related to the functionality of insulin. So we need proper iron status so insulin can dock on our cells and get into the cell. Excuse me, I'm super airy. I was drinking some soda water before I started this. Third on this list is Gymnema. Gymnema sylvester is an herb found in South Africa, and this is an herb that I will use, and I really, really enjoy it. There's even research showing people who are obese, and with obesity, there's usually metabolic derangement, higher blood sugars, and even a lower leptin level, so you're craving food all the time. Here nor there, Gymnema is a great supplement, and in this particular study that I'm thinking top of mind, those participants will put Gymnema, open up the capsule and put it on their tongue, and cravings will be gone instantly. So it's a very handy supplement that helps regulate blood sugar, but also cravings, particularly. Berberine is a very popular supplement right now, and it's very helpful at cleaning up the gut. It's really helpful at managing blood sugar. And overall helping with sugar cravings, and even metabolizing a higher carb, a higher sugar meal. However, berberine should never be used long term. Use berberine no longer than 3 months straight and rotate it out for a while and you can bring it back in. But you don't want to have that berberine cleaning up the gut and then sterilize even the good bacteria, because you can become antibiotic resistant, which could be a really bad thing down the road. Magnesium's listed here. Magnesium helps with mental health, that emotional health. When we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we usually have more emotional health. We usually have more relationships. It's at a point of life where maybe we're thinking of our parents and our children, just more plates to spin. But magnesium can help with mental health. It can help with sleep quality. It can help with blood sugar regulation. It can help with cravings. Moving down this list, Best Rest and Insomnital. These are sleep supplements that I really like. And sleep is a secret sauce to health. If your sleep is really depleted, if it's not a priority, your cravings are going to be persistent. So start at sleep first and start with a tool like Best Rest or Insomnital if you need. Best Rest and Insomnital are both blends of vitamins and herbs. However, Insomnital is kind of a heavier hitter. I use Insomnital specifically the week before my cycle because that's when my sleep is the most fragile. So just knowing yourself, let me know if I can help you source those on Fullscript, but they're very handy for sleep. Relora is a food craving supplement. It's a blend of B vitamins and herbs that help with impulsiveness. And impulsiveness comes with, a lot of sugar cravings and a lot of, quick binges and here nor there. So that supplement can be helpful if you fall into that area. Candibactin AR is a lot like berberine. It's going to help clean up the gut. A lot of sugar cravings can come from an overgrowth of yeast. Our colons are full of bacteria. They're full of yeast. They're full of a lot of things, and there's good and bad. But if our yeast is a little higher than optimal, we're going to crave sugar more than the average person. So Candibactin AR, that's another one you don't want to use long term, but that can help kill off the yeast. Simultaneously, you can use Saccharomyces boulardii. I think that might even be spell checked. Saccharomyces boulardii is a form of probiotic or a yeast to help with that balance. So there's a quick summary on some vitamins that can help with your cravings. But once you listen to this, send me an email. Let me know exactly what you're dealing with, and I can help handhold you on what's a good fit for you. So let's talk about tools. We talked about food, we talked about supplements, but now let's talk about tools that can help with your cravings. This morning, my inbox was flooding with some breaking studies, and one study was on coffee. And coffee has a lot of benefits. Number one, it's appetite suppressing, and that's regular coffee and decaf, but also coffee is shown to be anti-obesity. So it can help with weight management as well, which can kind of correlate with appetite regulation. So tea and coffee can be a good transition off like that morning snack or that morning sweet. Of course, you don't want to load it up with all the creams and sugars. I feel like oh, bless me. But it's just a tool to think about. Above this, though, I have cognitive behavior therapy. Cognitive behavior therapy, often it's not what we're eating, it's what's eating us. And, in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, our emotional resilience isn't as strong because as our ovaries are transitioning towards that perimenopause, premenopause, menopause, our adrenals take over, and our adrenals are responsible for DHEA and cortisol. And those hormones are just being asked of a lot more. So our resilience for simple things aren't as robust. So often our cravings, our impulses, our eating isn't often what we're eating, it's what's eating us. And this cognitive behavior therapy is a 5-step thought model. And I have a worksheet for you on how to utilize this. But overall, just think about your emotions. Think about when you have a craving, it's a feeling. And even though it feels like the fire alarms being, torched, it's a feeling that can sit with us and it'll dissipate. So just know each time you have a craving, it's okay. You're feeling a craving for that very specific, delicious XYZ, and then let it go. Don't act on things immediately. Just let it be, feel your feelings and be patient. I'm not a patient person, but cravings do ask for a gift of patience and utilize your cognitive behavior therapy, your emotional thoughts, um, on supporting you with acting on cravings. You don't have to, it's just a feeling. Sit with it for 5 minutes, see where things go, maybe drink some water, and then move on. Water is a great tool. That's our third bullet list here. Being properly hydrated helps all of our hormones work better, including insulin. Reroute habits. Maybe every time you pass this bakery or every time you pass through the kitchen and you see food on the counter you want to eat, set up your environment, reroute your habits to support your overall goals. Journaling goes a long way, for cravings, for grounding yourself, for even better sleep, for better cortisol levels. And, just take an opportunity to journal. I have my journal right here in front of me, the 5 minute journal. And I've just been really loving this lately, especially as I'm working on some personal goals and making some decisions, in my life. It's just been really helpful, and that can help with cravings. It's all connected. It's all connected. It's not just 31 days, the March of no sugar challenge. There's so many pieces to this. There's so many variables. So if you're slipping up, and I don't even want to use those words, if you're not hitting those check marks as often as you want, give yourself grace. Try to unpack why. Try to observe where the habits are, the triggers are, and just strive to be better, not perfect. There's so much medicine in walking. Walking can resolve a lot of things, even like a big craving, just step outside. That change in environment can have a shift in your energy and even shift in desire. So make walking a non-negotiable. It's one of the healthiest habits you can do. Connect with others, find joy in your life. Research shows the healthier you eat, the happier you are, the healthier you eat. So try to connect that chicken and the egg cycle the best you can, even when you're in a rut. And then the few resources I have further down here is a CGM, that's a continuous glucose monitor, which can help you understand what your blood sugars are doing throughout the night and during the day and from your favorite meals, from certain foods. And if you want to utilize a continuous glucose monitor, let me know. I can source that for you and put you into a program for that. It's just 4 weeks. It's a great way to understand your unique needs. But I wanted to put that on there because they very much relate to sugar cravings. My Wheat Zoomer Lab, that's a finger prick blood test. You can prick your finger, put blood on it. It'll tell you your susceptibility of wheat, gluten, celiac, leaky gut, but also can explain why you're having cravings on a daily basis. And then further down this list is the MRT. That's a food sensitivity test. That's a blood draw. So you'd go to a lab and it'll test 180 foods and chemicals that you're sensitive to. And we can pull those out of your diet, support the liver, help your gut heal, and you can most likely reintroduce a lot of those foods. Not always, but most of them you can. And then last but not least is my cleanse. My cleanse really supports the liver, gallbladder, and kidneys. And a cleanse can really hush cravings. When we support the liver, it supports blood sugar. And when we support blood sugar, it supports cravings, it supports sleep, it supports mood, and the domino list goes on. So there's just some tools that you can consider. But overall, I hope this theme for this month helps you turn up the volume on health, on making small little changes within yourself, within your home, and then to trickle effect to your neighbors and more, because our world needs our help. We need healthier, obvious choices, and it needs to become more of the known. On the call this morning, one of the participants said she was at a conference, and instead of like indulging in the danishes and the breakfast buffet, she got a bowl of fruit, and she kind of got some eyes at her. But fruit, those other highly palatable foods are very palatable, so the brain wants them, and it's not always the norm to reach for those whole real foods. But I hope as a group, as a membership in our community and our tribe, that we can turn up the volume on health in small little ways to make a difference in our world. In April, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. We're doing all things liver. And when we support the liver, we support the gallbladder. Women over the age of 40 and who have had children are at higher risk of getting gallbladders removed. And it's a crazy stat of the amount of gallbladders that are taxed. And it's really hard to test how gallbladder function is until you have gallbladder pain. But if you have stools, so we're talking about bowel movements, if you have a bowel movement and you're your poop floats or you notice it's really dark in color, there's a good sign of fat malabsorption. And fat malabsorption can be a effect of bile. So bile is produced by the liver and it helps metabolize fats. And it could just be a sign that your liver and your gallbladder need some help. I love all things cleanse. I love doing them seasonally. First day of spring's coming up here at the end of March and going into April. If you'd like to do a cleanse, let me know. On this next slide here, we'll also be doing a 30-day challenge. Again, I don't want to talk too much about April. We'll be doing a 30-day challenge, another thing to track along to. But if you'd like to do a cleanse, this is a 30-day program. You can click this directly and purchase this and do it in April. I also have a 14-day program, and I've shopped around a lot of cleanses that work well. And I really do like all of the ones I've done, but I am coming back to this 14-day Designs for Health, 14-day cleanse, because I find it's the most seamless, it's the most straightforward on what you need to do, and it's very impactful. The only bad thing is their stock is not always huge, but the stock right now for the strawberry vanilla is available. And then they are expecting more mid-March. So I'll send out a note if I know there's more stock. My rep's going to let me know. But chocolate should be coming out mid-March. But if you know you want to do this cleanse, just purchase now so you know you are set up for April overall. So that is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed this. And my AI didn't work as I expected. I'm not even sure if you could see that. But thank you for listening to this recording. Let me know your feedback. Let me know your questions, and always give me input on our membership, because I'm always willing to adapt those things. Now, have a good Friday, everyone. This is the second time I've talked about this material. I should be pretty versed, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you soon. Take care.